The call of the Hogs can be heard all the way to San Francisco.
You're listening to Pod at the Palace with Curtis Wilkerson on Inside Arkansas.
Good morning, everybody. Happy Thursday, and welcome back to the Pod at the Palace. I'm your host, Curtis Wilkerson with Inside Arkansas. Hope everybody's doing well this morning. Shout out to the Coffee Club. I see you out there. I guess we've got just, 2-3 shows left before the regular season gets rolling Monday night. We made it, man. Like it felt like it took forever to get to this point. Like the dog days were the dog days this summer. Talking about all kinds of crazy stuff, but now that we're here, time's flying. I mean, it truly is. And we'll be talking about March Madness and bracketology and everything else before we know it. Either way, I've got my popcorn ready. Like it is showtime. We've been waiting for this. We live for these moments. Fun show today that we got lined up for you. I have made probably, admittedly, a way too early observation about this team, and I have a question to ask you guys about this team. I have 5 what I would call pleasantly surprising developments and maybe some notable skill sets that have come to light throughout the preseason that I think we need to talk about some. Also, now that we've seen this team play a couple times, I have pulled the receipts from all of my Hot Take Tuesdays throughout the course of the summer. And we're going to talk about those a little bit. We'll probably laugh at some of the things that I said, but also I think we'll see, which ones of these we might have been on to something with. And we'll be able to pat ourselves on the back some maybe at the end of the year. Tomorrow, going to be kind of a long show, folks, to get you all set up for the weekend. We're going to be doing a portion of the show outside. Shout out Walter Christmas Lighting of Arkansas, showing off the Halloween lights. Some final projections for the season for the team. We'll revamp those. We'll do an SEC power rankings update after we've seen all these teams play in some exhibition action. We'll do a recruiting roundup. So be on the lookout for that. That should be a fun show as well. Actually, now that I think about it, we might do the recruiting stuff today. We'll see where we're at. By the end here, we'll see where we're at, and we'll make that decision on the fly in the moment. How's that sound? Is that fair? Well, I'm recording now. This isn't live, so it has to be fair. That's what we're going to do. Okay, today's episode is brought to you by our friends over at Drain Masters of Arkansas. Drain Masters are officially licensed in plumbing and drain cleaning while serving the River Valley, Northwest Arkansas, Oklahoma, and beyond. They're ready to handle all plumbing and draining cleaning needs with professional, reliable service. To request a service, give them a call today at 479-646-5585 or scan that QR code you see right there on your screen. You can also like their Facebook at Drain Masters Inc. Be sure to tell them that Inside Arkansas sent you, and you get 10% off of all their services, and that can come in handy. Anything and everything plumbing related. No job is too big or too small. Drain Masters of Arkansas has you covered. Okay, to lead things off here, just, an observation that I've made from the last week or so. And this is not, first, everybody relax a little bit, okay? This is not a drama thing or an issue. No, nothing like that. Arkansas has looked great. We've talked about it plenty the last few days. They're together. They're locked in. Kumbaya, all those things. It's like John Calipari said, right? We don't compete with each other. We complete each other. Okay? But here's my question for you. Does this team belong to the freshmen? Or Arkansas's freshmen running the show here? Is that what kind of team we're going to have at Arkansas this year? Because to tell you the truth, I didn't get that sense at the practice we attended. I didn't get that sense at primetime at the Palace or the Pro Day or in Hot Springs at the tip-off tour at all, frankly. But it sure as heck has looked that way through 2 exhibitions, has it? I mean, come on now. And that's not to say that, other guys have been bad or anything like that, but, the pecking order was what it was. It emerged the way that it did in these 2 preseason games. Grain of salt alert, small sample size alert. I understand all that. But I say this to say it's not a bad thing by any means. And yeah, maybe it's just the way these 2 exhibitions played out, matchups involved, whatever. But I find it interesting. And the other thing I'll say, it also depends on maybe how you look at this, like what lens you view this through as to whether it's even surprising to you or not. Because it's no secret, John Calipari has a long history of freshman-led teams who have had high levels of success. So that might be a no-brainer to some who look at it and they're like, yeah, duh. Yeah, no shit, dude. Of course, we get it. It's entirely possible that I have overthought it, maybe because of the roster build in this situation. I may be overthinking it now, but we've got a segment to fill, so we're going to talk about it. But to my point, a large portion of the hype and the optimism about this team and why it was going to be different was that Cal actually rarely has put a premium on retention. All the talking points. Most returning production in the SEC. 4 returners off of that Sweet 16 team. The stories have been written. The words have been spoken all summer in microphones, including mine. Carter Knox, the alpha. And DJ Wagner, the leader. Billy Richmond, the tone setter. Trevin Brazil, the breakout veteran. And, it all just kind of allows the youngsters to ease in a little bit. Sort of like Carter and Billy did for you last year. Not too much pressure on them. The other guys led the charge early, and then the freshmen came on when they were ready, and they were dynamite by the end of the year. For the record, every bit of that might wind up being true. But we get 2 weeks down the road, and we go, oh, yeah, okay, that's kind of exactly what this is. But so far, your 2 talented rookies have proven to be alphas who don't need training wheels at all. Darius Acuff and Malik Thomas are built different. Those dudes don't need on-ramps. They're on the interstate in Hunter Yurchek's third lane, and they're zooming by everybody. So, they have asserted themselves. They've shown that killer instinct. There's no back down. They got the dog in them. They're not deferring to anybody. There's no feeling out process, no get in where you fit in. No. They're dudes for you. And it is interesting. They've both taken double-digit shots in both of Arkansas's games. Trevin Brazil is the only other guy to do that once. He had 10 shot attempts against Cincinnati. Leak and Acuff have done it in both games. DJ Wagner averaged double figures for you last year. He's a third-year returner in the SEC, one of only a handful of those, and he's taken 7 shots total in 2 games. And I get it. I understand preseason play, exhibition play, and it's going to even out some. Of course it will. But I do think it's notable that Darius Acuff and Malik Thomas, your 2 Fab Frost, your 2 diaper dandies, as Dickie V would say, they've combined for 44% of the team's total shots. But so, hey, great. You're making them. So I'm all good with it, man. But it's also not all about shots to me when I think about this. There is something to be said for mental makeup and the ability to feel game pressure and respond to it and to embrace moments. And these 2 guys, they go about it in entirely different ways individually. But I feel like Darius Acuff and Malik Thomas, they've got a knack for that. They've got that it factor to them. We thought that they might be, leveled up a step ahead of where last year's freshmen were. They sure look like it so far. So keep an eye on how this looks Monday night, and especially Saturday at Michigan State. That's the first real pressure, I think, that this team is going to face. I got to tell you, though, I say all of this. Don't get it misconstrued. I don't think it's an issue if this winds up being the case. I love the idea of your returners being that foundation. Those guys, they establish a high floor, with their experience, their reliability. Why can't you be right back where you were at the end of last season with these guys back? Or maybe a little further with the old heads you added, inside on the interior. But I get the sense that the ceiling for this Arkansas team, it may very well rest on your 2 Calipari freshmen in the backcourt, right? If those guys have the goods, if they max out, if they're first round picks, if they're those vintage Cal guards, that, my friends, is the recipe for something special, and that will get this team and this program back to where everybody wants it to be. Sign me up for it. Hey, today's episode of the Pod at the Palace is also presented by our friends over at Walter Christmas Lighting of Arkansas. We got a special for them tomorrow. We're taking care of them tomorrow. I think I'm going to do the SEC power rankings for my front yard. Let you guys check it out a little bit. That way, if you're still in the market for Christmas lighting, because everybody thinks they're going to do it, and then all of a sudden it gets cold, and you're working and it's getting dark earlier and you don't have time, you can't get to the store to get your lights. The weekend comes around and you're thinking, okay, yeah, I'll get out there and get them all hung up. But, you know, the kiddos got a basketball game that I got to go to. The Razorbacks are playing on Saturday. Guess what? They'll come out there and take care of it for you. And they make it easy on you. They provide the materials. They consult with you on your color schemes, any patterns that you might like. They do the installation. They do the maintenance. They come do the takedowns for you in January. Hit up our guy, Brett, for a free estimate, 479-459-1380. I've had awesome experiences with them. They come highly recommended. You can also check out their website at walterchristmaslighting.com or like them on Facebook by scanning the QR code there on your screen. It's Walter Christmas Lighting of Arkansas, your local holiday lighting experts. See, this is why this pays off. Because y'all were making fun of us in, like the end of July and August when we were doing these ad reads. And look at us now. Like Halloween is tomorrow and Christmas is right around the corner and it's peak season. And you've been tapped into the Pod at the Palace or Inside Arkansas. You already know if you're behind the 8 ball on this, Walter Christmas Lighting will come take care of you. There you have it. So, okay. Yesterday, we talked about 5 areas that this Arkansas team, who's been really, really good, one of the more impressive teams in the country through the preseason. That's not an exaggeration. It's a fact. But they can improve. They're not a finished product. And we talked about that yesterday. I want to stick with the list theme a little bit today, at least for this segment. I've got 5 pleasant surprises, subtle surprises, or developments, whatever you want to call it, from this team and the players that just have my attention. Things that I've noticed that I want to talk about here. One of them being, I absolutely love how above the rim this team is. On both ends of the floor, mind you. The athleticism is crazy. And it makes for an exciting brand of basketball because they play up-tempo as well. And so the result is, over the course of 2 exhibition games, you have 20 dunks. 20 dunks. Like, even if you're just a casual basketball fan, what are the things you want to see? Give me threes, give me dunks, give me block shots, the exciting stuff, right? Arkansas is good for it with the athleticism, playing above the rim. 20 dunks. I need to go back and look at how many lobs that might be. And I think that's going to continue throughout the course of the year. Stuff is awesome, man. Highlights. Okay. That's what you love to see. And the social media department's going to have plenty of them with this Razorback team. But also the above the rim stuff on the other end of the floor. Like, think about that picture that's been, going viral of Billy Richmond with his hand above the square, blocking a shot. One of the question marks about this team coming into the year, and I wouldn't say it's fully answered through 2, exhibition games that don't count, but are you really worried about Arkansas's rim protection or their ability to block shots at the moment? Because I'm not. I got to be honest with you. It has been better than advertised so far. And I just, real quick, actually, while we're talking about this, I just want to see what these block numbers look like. So against Cincinnati, I want to say they had 6 in that game, but I want to pull up the box score to make sure I'm right. 6 block shots for Arkansas against Cincinnati, a team that had multiple 7-footers in their starting lineup. And then if there's one thing you can say about Memphis, they were hella athletic. I think we can give them that. And Arkansas blocked 8 shots in that game. So 14 blocks in 2 games. That's high level stuff. Trevin's going to be good for it. Cal said what he said about he should average 4 to 5 blocks a game. That's crazy. But I think when you look up over, at the end of the year, he's going to be between 2 and 3, and that's going to have him up there in the SEC rankings. And he's a 4. And like a guy like Nick Pringle, he protects the rim in different ways. But I saw him against Aaron Bradshaw, who's 7'1" and super athletic. Go up and try to dunk on Pringle and put him in the rim, and Pringle rejected it off the backboard, pinned him on the backboard. Lovely. I've seen Malik Ewan blocking some shots in there. We've seen Billy blocking some shots in there. Carter can do it. You have some athleticism on this team, some length on this roster. They're going to be able to alter and impact some things out there. Maybe it's not going to be the same as you had with Big Z, who kind of be a goalie for you, and he might not be a good defender, but he can clean up some mistakes elsewhere. But I'm not necessarily as concerned as I was before about this team's ability to block shots. And when you're one of the most athletic teams in the country, I guess that kind of makes sense. So that's one for me. Another, and I'll kind of stay in the shot blocking lane here. A lot of times it's cleaning up around the rim, right? And it can be a big center who's in there patrolling, or it can be a guy like Trevin who helps weak side, or it can be the LeBron James style chase downs in transition, whatever. But in the case of Trevin Brazil, it can be blocking perimeter jumpers. How many jump shots has Trevin blocked in these preseason games? How many is he going to block this season? Because one of the things about TB playing kind of giving him the keys, and it's like, all right, dude's probably going to play 30 a game at the 4. I'm not worried about that offensively. He's going to be fine. Super athletic. He's going to be a plus rebounder at that position. We've talked about his ability to block shots around the rim. We know he's going to hit some threes. Like, all those things are there. Fine. But I wonder about when teams are able to play smaller and they might have an athletic wing who's playing the 4, and TB's going to have to be out there defending on the perimeter. And he's gotten a lot better at getting in a stance and moving his feet and having some urgency about himself out there. But he also has impeccable timing of blocking shots. He's so long and so athletic that he can provide a little bit of cushion. That way he can keep guys in front of him off the bounce. But when they pull up, he is very well timed at blocking those jumpers. That is one way to become a good perimeter defender, is by blocking the shot. And it's an art. And Trevin's really good at it. And I've seen, one of the things he struggled with last year, it's like, we don't want him playing the 5 that much. Well, it was because he wasn't as physically strong. He's addressed that. He's stronger now, but he's not relying on that. He's not going to get back down underneath the rim. He's doing a good job. You can see him timing these guys who are dropping their shoulder into him, and they pick which shoulder they're going to go over, and he's timing it, and he's getting up, and he's blocked some of those shots. But if you're going to make a shot over the top of TB, you're going to have to do it with some crazy arc, and that decreases the percentage in there. So TB's shot blocking, particularly out there on the perimeter, I think that's very notable. I think that makes Arkansas a better defensive team, because you don't have to look at him if he's guarding somebody outside the 3-point line and go, that's barbecue chicken. That's not good. That's not going to be good for Arkansas. I thought he looked great on Carter Knox. I remember doing that practice in the summer, and man, he's looked pretty good from that standpoint in these 2 exhibitions. I like it. A couple other things that we've talked about quite a bit already, so we don't have to go too far into them, but how about Malik Thomas, the defender? That was the thing we wondered about. His minutes would probably be dictated to a degree by how impactful he was defensively. And automatically felt good about it the first time I saw him, because he was, you see him listed like 6'3", 170 on some of these recruiting sites. And no, he is 6'4 plus, of course. And he's put on weight, probably in that 185 range now. You see he's got room with those shoulders to add more to that. But it's the mentality. Like we said yesterday, man, he's such a competitor. He takes every possession personally. He gives max effort. And he's got a knack for making plays. And that happens on both ends of the floor. And he's forced a lot of turnovers, come up with deflections, digging down and getting steals. He's baiting offensive players into making mistakes, and he's taking advantage of it. Not only is he a serviceable defender, he's been impactful on that end of the floor. And that goes a long way for Arkansas, because at first I was thinking maybe they're going to have to do the math, because he's going to be a lot of fun offensively. Man, he can come in and score in bunches. Will he score more than he gives up? Right? The answer is yes, because he's a better scorer than I thought he would be, and he's also a significantly better defender. So I like it. How about Malik Ewan, the dimer, the passer? Like when Ewan signed with Arkansas, we talked so much about his versatility, and after seeing him over the summer and listening to Cal, you thought, okay, yeah, they might actually run some offense through him. We kind of use the moniker of he's an underrated passer at his position. Well, most centers suck at passing. And so if you're an underrated passer, it just means you could pass out of a double team or whatever. Yes, he can do that. Yes, he can do it as a point forward. We've seen that with him, getting a rebound, leading the break, and having that one-handed dime. I think it was the TB against Cincinnati. We see him catching the post, and he's being patient, and he's reading the defense. He's got that slick skip pass opposite side of the court to Billy Richmond for a 3. not only is he an underrated passer, he's a high-level passer. And you guys remember how that kind of changed the dynamic of Arkansas's offense with Jalen Williams' ability to pass? And he think about Jay Will, his second year is, he became just a good enough three-point shooter and evolved so much as a passer to where it opened up everything else in his game. And it opened up a lot for Arkansas. It completely changed the dynamic of that team. And there's some of that with Malik Ewan. He's really going to be able to facilitate some things. And there's a lot of centers in this league who aren't going to be able to handle that well. I like it. We just talked about him skipping it out to Billy Richmond for that three. We're talking about pleasant surprises, notable developments. I like Billy hitting those 2 threes against Memphis. It looked good. And so do I want to see him catching the ball on the wing and, taking a hard dribble and a, crossover step back off the bounce 3? No, I don't want to see him do that ever. Do I want to see him not rim run in transition and just fade out to the wing and shoot a 3? No, I don't want to see that. But within the flow of the offense, when everybody's so worried about you getting downhill and driving it because you're so explosive and you got that quick first step, if you just hang out occasionally and you just got a wide open feet set, knock it down until they have to respect you and they have to close out, give me that all day. The jumper looks better. He's worked on it hard. And is it going to be a weapon for him? No, I don't think so. Is it going to change Arkansas's, trajectory as a three-point shooting team? No, I don't think there's going to be enough volume. But could it be a game changer for him in the way teams defend him? Yeah, it absolutely could. So very, very, very notable. There's 5. And hell, we can add a 6th here. Is Arkansas going to have a kind of a target on its back? Like, are they going to become the hunted again? Like that team that everybody loves to hate. 1, because John Calipari is your coach. 2, because they're really talented and really good. But 3, because they've got that edge to them. And it's like they know all these things. And they've got a confidence about them and a toughness to them. And they'll talk to you and then they'll go out there and back it up. I've noticed that in these 2 games. Because there's been Arkansas teams in the past where it bothered me. I mentioned it. I don't remember what show it was on, but with TB, like a couple years ago, he kind of came across as kind of a punk. Honestly, like he played a little bit soft at times, and then he was like kicking guys in the back and getting soft techs and everything. And you're like, okay, there's a difference in acting tough and not being that way. You know what I mean? And now he's kind of got this confidence about him. He's playing with more physicality. He's more assertive, and he's doing some of those things now, but it doesn't come across as cheap or weak. I kind of like that, playing with some edge, and that's that attack dog mentality. We know that Billy's good for it. We've seen Leak, like he's just got so much passion and energy, and he'll talk to you, man. Nick Pringle. Dude's out there in an exhibition game. He's clapping, he's barking, and he's flexing those muscles. I love that stuff, man. Absolutely love it. And you don't want to get carried away. And like Carter, for example, got a little bit carried away against Memphis. Whatever. 2 possessions in a row. You got caught. They got you. Okay. No one to reel it in. No one to harness it. But I like a team that plays with some passion, some energy, and goes nuts. You remember early last season when people were wondering how much do these guys care? Like, or why aren't they showing passion? Why aren't they up on the bench? Why aren't they showing energy? That is not going to be a thing for this basketball team. And that, my friends, I think is a notable development that I'm excited about. I'm also excited about your new Arkansas hangout in Fayetteville, Goat Lab Red. Goat Lab Red is the place to be for Razorback pre and post game. We did an in-game football live stream there. We did the pre-game show for Primetime at the Palace. I'm sure we're going to be back out there throughout the course of basketball season. Give them a shot. Stop by Oak Plaza on North Garland. Get you some of the best brews and burgers around. You can sip on their signature Goat Lab brews like Razorback, Tusk, and Tusk White. Grab one of those signature burgers. They got some fire wings. They've always got some good deals over there. You can even come back on a Sunday for all-you-can-eat pancakes with your choice of 2 Goat Lab brews or 2 mimosas for just $16. We'll see you Saturday at Goat Lab Red, your new game day tradition. Okay, moving on. You guys remember like the dog days, we had to find some stuff to talk about, and you really get into projections and bold predictions. We like to call it Hot Take Tuesday. So for like 2 months, every Tuesday, we would have a segment with a hot take. And understand what a hot take is. It's not I am predicting this to happen for sure, but it's maybe a little bit of a spicy. Maybe you stretch it a little bit. You got to be bold with what you're saying. But the whole point was I would say that, and I would try to talk you guys into it. Well, we got to wait for the season to play out, but I did want to kind of run it back with some, because, a lot of people right now, this is just kind of how preseason content works. They're doing their, final predictions and, we got our bold predictions for the season. And I was going to do that for this show. Then I realized, bold shit. We've kind of been doing that all summer. So I just want to pull back what we said already and let's talk about it for a minute. Let's see which way it's trending. And then when we've got the Christmas break, we'll review it again. And then again, at the end of the season, we'll see if we were right. I remember how much trash Kentucky fans were talking to me over Christmas break when we kind of ran some of our bold predictions back about my Carter Knox SEC Freshman of the Year. And, this guy doesn't know ball. Oh, he's an idiot. Oh, what a moron. And then by the end of the season, the way he was playing, a good number of them were like, okay, you were wrong, dude, but we see the vision. And that might be how some of these things are. The very first one we did, thought that there would be a surprise leading scorer for Arkansas. And by that, most folks out there had either Darius Acuff or Carter Knox predicted to lead Arkansas in scoring. I gave 3 options. The one that I officially picked was Malik Ewan for Arkansas, which, if you ask me today after what we've seen, if he's going to lead Arkansas in scoring, I would say no, because I think you got some young guys who are balling out right now, but I still think he's going to be a double-digit scorer. And I don't think it's crazy looking back. Now, my honorable mention was Malik Thomas. I should have just gone with Leak, right? Because that would have been a spicy one, and man, he looks like he might be good for it. Could Malik Thomas lead Arkansas in scoring coming off the bench? People are talking. Another hot take Tuesday we had was that Arkansas would finish with the number 1 high school signing class, freshman class. Well, go over to Rivals on 3 right now. They have the number 1 class, and they're going to add to it. They are absolutely going to add to it. In fact, I will combine these two here, because a little bit later we had, that Arkansas was going to land multiple of their fall visitors. And the reason we said that and why that might have been a hot take at the time was because as we went through it, Arkansas is literally running second on everybody they had scheduled to visit. It was like, man, they're recruiting them hard. They're in there. They got a puncher's chance, but they're behind Houston or they're behind Duke or whoever. And I said, hey, they're gonna land multiple of them. Well, they've already landed one in Abu Toure, so they got to get another. They will still get multiple of the guys who have already visited. I'm telling you that right now. And if they do, they've got a really good shot at landing the number 1 class, which they already have. So, for example, if you're already at number 1, and it's historically slow in terms of the amount of guys who have been committing and everything like that. So this is going to change. But if you're already at this baseline and you finish with, say, you get the 2 guys that you're hot to trot for in Baba Olatunji and Brandon McCoy, that very well could be good enough for number 1. So that wasn't crazy. Wasn't crazy at all. Another hot take Tuesday that I had, that as I'm looking at this, yeah, I said that, Palo Smito was going to work his way into the rotation. That's not going to happen this year, unless Arkansas has some injuries. So miss on that one, but I'm still very, very high on his potential moving forward. And, I think if you were able to watch in Hot Springs, for example, he got in there for a few minutes in those scrimmages, you could see it. Like, you just watch him in the warm-ups and everything, some of the drills. It's like, okay, this dude he's 7'1", and wow, he's super athletic, and he can kind of dribble. Shots got a little bit of you can see it in there. Played in the scrimmage, got a bucket. He did a couple things there. You can see the vision, but I think it's also very, very clear that the dude is behind. The game is so sped up for him right now. If he would have been able to get on campus in May, or even for the second half of the summer session, this might have been a little bit different of a conversation. But when you're young and you got added late and you miss all 8 weeks of summer practice, that puts you behind the 8 ball. And I think it's what he's dealing with right now. Is he redshirting? Is he not? I think so, but then he's dressed out and he looks like he's available. Regardless, probably a year away, barring some serious injuries there. I'm still bullish about the potential. And if he keeps his head on straight and works hard and adds the weight and keeps getting after it every day in practice, I really do think he's a guy that goes from not playing at all this year to next year being a really important piece from you. I do think he's that talented. Another Hot Take Tuesday that we had, DJ Wagner being an all-SEC player his junior season. Well, he was preseason all-SEC, suckers. So somebody thinks that's right. But, hey, we'll see what it looks like. He's taken 7 shots in 2 exhibition games, so he's going to have to do more than that. But are you worried about DJ? I'm not. I'm not at all. He's going to be just fine. I think he has already established his floor, which is going to be scoring 10 points, dishing out a couple assists, grabbing a few rebounds, and playing really good defense for you pretty much every single night. And if he does that, he might very well be in that case. And if he levels up a bit, like we've heard that he did throughout the course of the summer, embraces the challenge that Cal threw at him of, hey, be more aggressive, man, take that shot, be that guy, then no, it's not out of the realm of possibility. We had Arkansas for a record-setting draft class. What would that be? 4 first-round picks or 6 total? I think maybe is what it was. At any rate, when you look at it right now compared to what we were thinking, I don't know. Acuff and Malik Thomas sure look like first-round picks to me. And you got to feel good about Carter having a good season and being in that conversation. Like I'm looking at it right now, and I kind of see 3 no-brainers. And then the question becomes, well, what happens with TB? It's his final year of eligibility. If he plays well and gets through a full season healthy, he just strikes me as a guy that's going to get drafted, probably in the 2nd round, maybe late. But I do feel like he would be a guy who would get selected. Billy, with that athleticism, like what could that potentially look like? DJ, is he going to be done? And, does he, the guy who's just won a lot of games and everything, does he get a sniff there late? We'll see. But I don't know if they're going to get there. That's why it's a hot take. But, man, anywhere from 3 to 5, I feel fairly confident in. The last 2 that I had as I'm looking at these Hot Take Tuesdays, Billy Richmond had for SEC 6th Man of the Year. Why not? The only reason it wouldn't happen, in my opinion, is if Malik Thomas gets it. So he might get burned by his teammate there, but man, Billy's super impactful coming off the bench for Arkansas. It would not surprise me at all if that wound up being the case. So I think that one's in play. Had 6 Razorbacks averaging in double figures, and they're going to have to spread out the shots a little bit more than they are right now, but you feel pretty good about Acuff and Leak, don't you? DJ just gets to his baseline. That's 3. Carter feels like 4. Malik Ewan, TB. I mean, it's really not crazy. And the thought process was, okay, but how many points is Arkansas going to score per game this season? Well, they averaged 94.5 through these 2 exhibition games. That's going to go down a little bit, but you're telling me his team's not good for 80 plus a game? I certainly think that they are. So we'll see how these play out, but I think it's fun. Seems like there's only, really one of them right now that was just like, all right, dude, you took a swing there, you missed, we'll wear it. Okay, fine. And then we'll move on from here. Hey, today's episode is also brought to you by our friends over at BetSaracen. It's Arkansas's #1 sports betting app. Make sure you check out BetSaracen's No Strings Attached special, where new users can bet $25 and get $125 instantly. All you got to do is download the BetSaracen app by scan that QR code right there on your screen. And then when you hop on and you're going through the registration process, enter code INSIDEAR to get $125 instantly when you bet your first $25. That's a pretty good deal. You're not going to find that anywhere else. BetSaracen, it's Arkansas's #1 sports betting app. Download it on your iPhone, your Android today, or you can hop over to betsaracen.com and start getting those bets in now. They got we had a segment last week where we were going through all their season specials for Arkansas. And if you're the betting type, I know a lot of those are pretty enticing, I guess you would say. Well, we just did the ad read, so it's only fitting, I guess, that we go ahead and do a segment. Let's do a recruiting rundown, and we'll roll through it real quick here. A few updates on Houston's weekend visitors, Arafon Jean, Caleb Holt. With Arafon, the commitment date is November 19th. We've been saying that for a while here. That's the birthday, and was kind of told that's what he had earmarked for that. Okay, so a little while to go. Feels like it's trending elsewhere, doesn't it? And I know that's a little bit frustrating for Razorback fans who are naturally very excited about the potential of landing him. It ain't over yet, okay? But, and you know how bullish I've been on it, I will admit, like, I see kind of where this is headed. Why? Well, he's coming fresh off of that Houston official visit, and they've been the perceived leader. So you're going to have that post-visit high. It's how it works. So there's that. Let's check back on it in a week and see if that's died down at all. The other part of it, which we talked about a little bit, but Indiana, who is another one of his finalists, and they've just, frankly, missed on a lot of their top targets. And so they've taken all their whiff money and they put it in the Arafon pot and they pushed it into him. And you guys remember how much they paid for Lamar Wilkerson? They've got money over there, and so they have upped the ante. That doesn't rule Arkansas out by any means, but it complicates things, right? Because you have to look at your other options, and you have to think, okay, are we going to get into this bidding war for this guy when we know that Cal has even said, hey, if I'm going to get transfers, I want it to be my big men, older, more physical, more experienced. Arafon's an exception to that because he's all those things besides older, but just something to monitor because another team has kind of earned that running when it was really, it's honestly just been a Houston, Arkansas thing for the longest here. Let's see how this plays out over the course of the next couple of weeks. Does Cal get out there to visit him? Does he have any stops to pull? Are they going to make that last minute final heavy push because they really do rock with Cal, and we know that Cal's really liked him a lot. So you never rule out John Calipari in a race like this. But yeah, am I naive to where this appears to be trending? No, I'm not. But we'll check on it. I'm going to ask some folks around Arkansas to see how they're feeling coming out of those visits and some of these new developments. And we'll share with you what we get there. Caleb Holt, who also visited Houston over the weekend. Honestly, I've said it a million times, I think he goes biggest bag. Right now, as I understand it, that's Kentucky. And here's the thing, though. I do not believe, and I've seen some other people say this too, that he is going to go to Kentucky if Tyron Stokes does. Make of that what you will. It's not that Kentucky can't afford it because they got more money they know what to do with, but I don't think those two are going to be paired up. So keep an eye on Stokes. Like if he winds up popping for Kansas, you really got to worry about Kentucky for Holt. If Stokes winds up going to Kentucky, then all of a sudden I think the race at that point is wide open for Holt. With Arkansas in there, with Houston in there, with Arizona in there, with Alabama in there. So like there would be a lot of schools involved, but Arkansas would very, very much be in the thick of it. I think we just have to wait for that Tyron Stokes domino to fall before we can really get a good idea of what that's going to look like. Brandon McCoy, who I still love where Arkansas is at there. It sounds like I still think he's going to wait a while. I still think he's going to wait until the spring, but it sounds like he's more open to potentially deciding earlier than I was initially led to believe. So keep an eye out for, do any other visits really pop up? Let's just start focusing on his games as a commitment timeline merge here. That'll be something to monitor. I think Jordan Smith Jr. is still chilling. I do think he's going to be a spring guy. Baba visited Arkansas over the weekend. It went tremendously. He's planning to take a couple more visits still. I know Tennessee is one of those, but regardless of what those look like, I still feel strongly that it comes down to Arkansas or Virginia Tech. With Georgetown, like a third that you can't rule out, but I think it's those two at the top right there. And I like Arkansas's chances. So if we were to, do the likelihood of hog scale, I would say at the top there for Arkansas, I would probably put Baba and Brandon McCoy very close to each other in terms of the guys I think Arkansas will, could wind up getting. I would put Caleb Holt and Jordan Smith Jr. in the tier below, where I would not be surprised if Arkansas could get it done, but I couldn't call for that today. You know what I mean? Some other things have to happen for you to be in a good position there. And then right now I might have Arifon not off the table, but maybe a little bit below those. And you can see how it fluctuates, right? Somebody asked me about Mika Murinen earlier today, and I said, I'd love to put him on there. I wouldn't even know where to start. I don't think he's even going to be entertaining college decisions until for like the next several months. And when that happens, you like that Arkansas has already had him on a visit and it's had a long-standing relationship. Maybe that's a good thing for you, or maybe he just like reopens it. He's filling a bunch of offers. He's getting some crazy NIL deals, and he does a brand new visit tour, and you're not even involved. I don't know yet what that's going to look like. So whenever some stuff there starts to emerge, we'll talk about it at that time. But anyway, I'm out of here. Appreciate y'all. Been a fun episode. Good stuff. And, everybody's been like the numbers have been crazy. I know everybody's really excited about basketball. So shout out to all our new listeners out there. If you're not subscribed to our Inside Arkansas YouTube channel, please do that. We got a lot of really good content beyond the Pod the Palace, even though we're very proud of that over here. Find us where you find your podcasts, Apple, Spotify, anywhere that you listen. And to those who've been around for the long run, appreciate you. You're the OGs. I know all about the coffee club. I shouted you out at the beginning of the episode, and I'm shouting you out at the end. It's really cool, and it's humbling, and I appreciate it. And I'll see you guys tomorrow. Everybody have a good one.